morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I am delighted to be here to officially welcome you all to this conference this morning as Cathaoirleach, our Mayor of County Mayo. I want to extend a particular invitation, or a particular word of welcome to my fellow councillors, Councillors Blackie Gavin, Michael Kilcoyne, Cyril Burke and Rose Conway-Walsh, to our Chief Executive, Peter Hines, who will speak to you shortly in relation to all aspects of our county. I'd like to extend a very broad welcome to the Chairman of Ireland West Airport Knock, Mr. Joe Kennedy, and thank him for his support and vision for the airport, a critical piece of infrastructure in not alone the development of County Mayo, but indeed the development of the region, and something that we as elected members are wholeheartedly supportive of and want to see developed further. And of course, just in relation to the airport, I think that our overall aim and ambition is the development of transatlantic routes, and I, as Cathaoirleach of the Council, would be ensuring that that's to the forefront and hope to bring that through to fruition in my tenure as the Cathaoirleach of Mayo County Council. I'm delighted, and I want to thank the organising committee for the facilitating of this World Convention, and I'd like to extend a particular welcome to all the Mayo societies and associations around the world, some of which we haven't been in as much contact as I would have liked, but we do hope to broaden our horizons and develop and strengthen those links. As I said in the general introduction yesterday evening, I'm not just Chairman or Mayor of County Mayo for the people that live in the county. I am the Mayor for the people at the Mayo diaspora, which we estimate is in the region of 3.5 million people right around the world. I am the Chairman and Mayor for all the Mayo people dotted right around the globe, and in my tenure as Chairman, I intend to reach out to each and every one of those organisations in as feasibly possible and develop, strengthen and enhance those links and build on them. My background is primarily tourism. I think that Mayo as a county has a huge amount to offer in the whole area of tourism, and an awful lot of that is untapped and underdeveloped. We have a fantastic county. We have the longest coastline in the country, and the new concept, the Wild Atlantic Way, we're primarily the heartbeat of the Wild Atlantic Way, and I think that the development, enhancing and strengthening of our tourism product is to the forefront of what we do in the county. And as you will see from our presentations in a few minutes, Mayo is a fantastic place to visit, and I would like to extend that invitation to everybody here, and indeed come and see firsthand what we have to offer. The other initiative that we are embarking upon, and I will finish with this, is the launch of a Mayo Day, and we intend to do that in 2015. I think that it's crucially important that we mark a Mayo Day on an annual basis, and that we would be probably one of the first counties in Ireland to do that, and I think for Mayo people all over the world it would be an opportunity to dwell and celebrate Mayo. I'm delighted, as I say, as Mayor of the county, to be here this morning to meet with you. I look forward to networking and connecting with you over the weekend, and just once again to welcome you here, and hope you have an enjoyable weekend and a fruitious weekend. Gonna meet a Mahaguf Galer. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Cathaoirleach. Tim, if you wouldn't mind doing the lights at the back. One of the dangers of doing the normal Irish thing of filling the room from the back is that you sometimes get a job. Firstly, on behalf of Mayo County Council, it's a great pleasure to be here to join with the Cathaoirleach and the elected members and our team to be part of the first session of the Mayo World Convention. This is, I think, only the 4th World Convention that has been held out of County Mayo, so it's a very significant event for all of us, and it's a pleasure to be back in Cleveland. And as I said last night, if we were in Mayo, certainly Minister Ring would be taking credit for the sunshine, but whoever takes the credit around here, could you extend our thanks to them for the warm reception, the warm welcome, and the warm weather as well.
You're welcome, Peter.
Yeah, there's always one. We have I think, about a half an hour to get ourselves back on schedule. So we have a presentation here. We want to talk a bit about the developing relationship, focusing on Cuyahoga, but also looking at the relationship that we're trying to develop as a county with our diaspora worldwide. And as the Cathaoirleach mentioned, one of the significant events of the weekend will be the launch of Mayo Day. It's also the first time that new branding and the revamp of our mayo.ie website, which is one of our key tools, is being flown in anger. And if you see the M sign at the top of the page, the county of many parts, many places, many people, but one county, that whole conversation is starting here in Cleveland today. So Martina Hughes will be presenting on that later this afternoon, and that's where that's coming from. So just to kick off, the convention, when we started to talk to Jerry and his team here about it over a year ago at this stage, the thinking was about the global family. And as the Cathaoirleach said, if you take the 70 million people that have Irish DNA around the globe, and you take even 5%, which we think is probably an underestimate, certainly conservative, as coming from the county of Mayo, there's 3.5 million people. When you think that there's only 130,000 in the county itself, that 3.5 million people becomes a very important part of our thinking, of our psychology, and of what we do. And it's that link to our diaspora that has brought about the twinning with ACL, which has been amazingly successful over the last 11 years at this stage, and keeping going and growing stronger, because there is a real connection between the people who are current residents of the county and those in Mayo communities that are equally vibrant, equally proud around the globe. So this conversation with our global family is what this convention is about. That's where the theme comes from. And we want to talk and tell you a little bit about the collaboration, and we're delighted that Nate Kelly can join us this morning to tell us a bit of that from the Cuyahoga side. My presentation will be about a little bit about the vision for the county, a little bit about the role of local authorities, which is changing, a little bit about the story of Mayo, and then focus on the future. And I will move it along fairly snappily. If anyone kind of feels a wave of boredom coming over them at any stage, if they would just kind of raise their hand or just snore loudly, I'll pick up the pace. Okay, in terms of the vision, I have the privilege of being the Chief Executive of Mayo County Council, have done for the last 4.5 years, and it is a considerable privilege, no more than the role of Cathaoirleach or any of the elected members. It is something that we don't take for granted or take lightly. So when I talk about the vision that we have for the county that we'd like to develop and see develop and spread, it's a county that would be sustainable, inclusive, prosperous, and proud. Sustainable, I mean that we work within our own resources, that we look to our own people, to our own natural advantages. Inclusive, because we feel very strongly that we're not just a local authority, or we're not just a county, we are a series of communities, and a community, if it doesn't include everyone with all of their diverse talents and skills and ranges of abilities, is not really a community. Prosperous in terms of economic solidity, not rich in the sense that we sometimes thought we were 10 years ago in the middle of the Celtic Tiger, with multiple apartments in the Bahamas and Bulgaria and wherever it was, but prosperous in the sense that we can look after the needs of our people, and proud with as many Mayo people as this in the room. I don't need to name at that point, so let's keep going. In terms of the role of local authorities, we have gone through a considerable change in the last couple of years. Partly driven by economic necessity and partly driven by government policy, which is to push the interface with government as close to the community level as they can do it, and with local authorities being the first line in that conversation. We would traditionally have been seen as a provider of utilities, waters, roads, hedge cutting, the basics. And to some extent we still do that, even though we have moved to a national utility on the water side, which over the next 12 years and possibly even more quickly will take on responsibility. We still provide water under an SLA with that utility. But we're certainly moving out of the utility delivery area and more into community development and enterprise and investment development. And that's why we in Mayo, with the full support of the elected members, set up our own enterprise and investment unit ahead of the curve 2 years ago. That's headed up by Joanne Graham, and Martina and David are here from the team, and you get to talk to them and hear from them during the course of the day. Nationally, there's a network of local enterprise offices, which is the first point of contact for micro enterprise, and Joanne heads that up as well. It's embedded in our enterprise and investment unit. And that team have done a phenomenal job, and hopefully you get to see some of the results in this presentation and in others. So that's the role and where we see ourselves. So that's why we are very pleased to have been given the opportunity to be part of this convention and to be part of the kick-off session, because it allows us to some extent, frame the conversation. And it is about connecting, it is about investing, it is about doing mutually supportive business. We are not looking for business to go one way, we're looking for business to go 2 ways, because if it doesn't go 2 ways, we don't think it's going to work or be sustainable. So in terms of the story of Mayo, for just as a recap, you probably know it better than me, most people in the room, but we would suggest that the story is about place, about pride in place, it's about a heritage which is pretty unique, it's about a people who are, we think, pretty unique as well, and it's about resources. And as I said earlier this morning at the kick-off session next door, the common perception and the common teaching in my school days was that Ireland didn't have any natural resources. We didn't do coal, we didn't do steel, we didn't do a whole lot of stuff. And that's just totally, absolutely wrong. And our realization of that and our mindset around that, when we looked at the resources of our people, when we looked at the resources of renewable energy, when we looked at the resources of our places, both at home and across the globe, we have considerable resources. We need to recognize that. Heritage goes back 5,000 years. Céide Fields, the largest Neolithic landscape in the world, and more recently the memory of the famine and the scattering which that brought about. It left us with a series of resilient communities, very resilient communities all over the country, and I think that to some extent explains the resilience of the Mayo communities abroad as well. We've talked about the diaspora before, 70 million with Irish DNA, and we're really looking forward to the National Geographic presentation later today, where we start to look in more detail at the Mayo gene, where it came from. There's a fascinating story around that as well. And it is a fairly unique connection. National Geographic does a good look with every county or with every community, so we're really looking forward to it. Today, we would suggest that these are the words that describe the county. A county of many parts: vibrant, creative, industrious, and positive, and that's what we're trying to build as well. Ireland is, and just to put it on, Ireland is on the way back. We have had a very, very, very rough 5, 6, 7 years, but things are on the turn, and in the parlance of the younger people who put some of this presentation together, I'm not sure what trending is. David, what does trending mean? But for those of the Facebook era, you will know that Ireland is the happening place, and the multinationals that you see listed there are headquartered with us, and we have our share in Mayo as well. The numbers don't tell lies at the end of the day. If you pick any one of those statistics, 9 out of the top 10 global ICT corporations based in Ireland, 3 of the top 6 gaming companies based in Ireland, and we're trying to pull as much as we can of the benefit of their location on the island out to the west and into Mayo specifically. So obviously that's our mothership, 5,500 square kilometres. That's the land base. We sometimes forget about the sea base, and I tell people when we declare independence, which could be any time soon, we're going to take this chunk of the continental shelf with us. It's about 210,000 square kilometres. It will increase our land base by 40-fold, and there's going to be oil and gas out there somewhere, so we're going to be pretty well fixed. Population of 130,000. Cathal spoke of the quality of life, and we're trying to build this momentum around the quality of life, around connecting people, around creativity, around innovation, making communities which improve the quality of life and it's self-fulfilling and self-sustaining. And if you look to, and if you want a one-word example of where we think that works best over the last 20 years, local authorities had a good deal of input into it, you'd use the word Westport, and you see what's happening there. Apart from the county itself, and in business terms, we recognise that the catchment is much more than just the 130,000 people who are residents. Within an hour's drive, we have access to 1 million people. There is no argument at all that any business cannot locate in Mayo because of lack of skilled workforce or for any other reason. And the history of places like Allergan, where their staff turnover is among the lowest of any company on the island, is testament to that. In terms of access, you don't need to labour the access point. Caherloch has spoken of Ireland West Airport, not unique piece of infrastructure which we are totally focused on sustaining and developing, and transatlantic routes would be the icing on the cake there. It currently flies to 16 destinations through Europe and has very good connectivity into the UK. The other connections are as good as anywhere on the island. So remoteness is a state of mind. It is not an impediment to doing business. These are some of the corporations that are currently based in the county, some homegrown and some foreign direct investment, some multinationals. Just to pick two of the multinationals at random, Allergan. Most people are probably aware that they employ 1,000 people at their plant. They're currently finishing out the building phase of a $330 million investment, which is pretty much going to double the size of the plant, employ another 300 people to 300. And all of the legal Botox on the planet comes out of the town of Westport. Go up the road, take another FDI, Coca-Cola, the largest Coke concentrate plant, manufacturing unit on the planet is in County Mayo. It's bigger than the next biggest by a factor of 1.5, and I think that's in Mexico. Not often remembered. And then you take one indigenous CDE based in Claremorris, doing work across the globe and just getting into the Chinese market. Very big in Asia. Practically, not really that well known at home. Or McHale Machinery export very sophisticated farm machinery all over the globe, 15, 16 countries, and have plants both in Ballinrobe, which they are currently effectively doubling in terms of footprint, and in Poland. And they export the kind of machinery that in my youth we would have thought was only produced in places like Germany, Switzerland, and sophisticated places like that, not in rural Mayo. So the county, when you get beneath the skin and beneath the popular perception, and we really, really, really want to move away from the Mayo God help us syndrome, because we have moved on way past that. It's a very sophisticated and a very complex and a very productive and vibrant place. We're good at a lot of things. Being from Galway, I'm not going to mention football, and we are a great place to get away from it all. We'll talk about tourism a little bit later on. As Caherloch said, the Wild Atlantic Way has been a phenomenal success to date, and will be a bigger success as we move ahead in the next couple of years and it rolls out in more detail. But as a mind, and it is mainly a figment of the imagination to some extent, it's about branding, it's about marketing, it's about packaging, because the Wild Atlantic Way has been there for eons. It's only in the last couple of years that it has been developed as a product in its own right, and it fits right into our barrow. We have the longest coastline of any county in the country. And anyone who argues with that is statistically correct. We get you the backup for it. Please get the word out there. We're longer than Kerry, we're longer than Galway, we're longer than Donegal. We are the longest, okay? And that's not hugely important as a bragging point, but in terms of a mindset where the Wild Atlantic Way can be best experienced, it's a stat. And if Kerry had it, believe me, they would be talented. So we've been trying to push the idea that we're pretty much centre point in the Wild Atlantic Way. We have the highest sea cliffs in Europe, higher than, what's the small ones in Clare? Yeah, those are the ones. They're higher than those, not known. And we are very central. We have direct access through Ireland West Airport at Knock, and we are the heartbeat of the Wild Atlantic Way. That's the mindset again that we like people to just get the word out. Heartbeat, Wild Atlantic Way, Mayo. We are becoming, and there are others competing for the title, we're becoming the adventure capital of Ireland. And when you think about the move towards fitness, towards well-being, towards outdoor pursuits, and you think about how that fits with what we have in terms of landscape, in terms of coastline, in terms of scattered facilities, and how it has impacted, and you can see it enacted this summer in particular, we think that the adventure capital of Ireland is another message, another brand that we want to push out there. We're experts at doing business. Spoke of the Enterprise and Investment Unit, and there is a promise that we'll make in the business session of here of this conference that we'll get back to later on. Future as we see it. Future is going to be about a number of things, these and others, but in our mind these are important. It's going to be about connectivity. It's going to be about communication. It's going to be about collaboration, not competition, collaboration. And it's going to be about diaspora. That 3.5 million people that are out there that have a real connection to our country are really very important to us. In terms of connectivity, we are not quite there yet, but we're getting there. This fibre optic cable that is being developed to connect from Shirley, New York, through Ireland into England and on to the financial markets in Frankfurt, with a loop to the south, directly into France. Emerald Express is the name of the company that started it. They're very, very close to pushing a go button. In this world, no one says the go button is pushed until the go button actually gets pushed. But hopefully, if we're lucky, in the next couple of months, that will go. There are competing cables as well, by the way. If they don't come ashore here, they would probably come ashore in the south of the country. That would be great for the island, great for Ireland, but we would be far better served if we could bring it ashore in Mayo. We'd be working very hard at that. If it happens, it will be the fastest connection between the financial markets of London and New York, and it will have Mayo not as an outpost, or Ireland not as an outpost, but as an integral part of that stepping stone between the two major powerhouses on the planet, and that's got to open up opportunities. In terms of the communication, this is the brand, and I don't want to steal Martina's thunder. This is the work that's being done by the Enterprise and Investment Unit under Joanne's guidance and leadership. And Martina rather will be speaking about it later today. But the words that are important here, and the emblem and the trademark, Martina will explain where that comes from. But the words are about the identity of the country. Many places, many people, many parts. And that's global parts. This isn't just parts at home. One country. And then the call to action, or connect, which is part of why we're here, which is what we're all about. Visit, come and understand. You've got to go back to the home ship to see, in the great tradition of the Israeli diaspora, who are far better at it than we are, everyone gets to go home at least once in a lifetime. And I know everyone in this room knows that, but we're trying to push that in other places as well. And invest, and we don't mean just send money. We mean invest emotionally, invest time, invest energy in understanding where your roots are from, because that works both ways, and that will lead to connection, it will lead to communication, it will lead to business, and it will work both ways. It has to be. In terms of collaboration, we're trying to position Mayo as a stepping stone to Europe. And as we said in the earlier session, we can't promise that you're going to get better tax breaks in Mayo than you get in Donegal or Galway or anywhere else. We can't promise that the IDA are going to be more welcoming in Mayo than they are in Donegal or Cork. We can't promise that the government are going to do more for you in Mayo. Well, we can't at the moment, but we can't really long term. But we can promise that you will find the best, most welcoming, most open, most accessible enterprise and investment units in the country. And you will find the most positive, creative, progressive local authority in the country. And I know I speak for the elected members and for the executive, both, when I say that. And in terms of our relationship with Cuyahoga, we're moving on from the twinning with ACCA, which has been extremely successful. Nate, I'm sure, will talk about the MOU, and we're trying to position Cuyahoga as the stepping stone to North America, not just the US, the continental US, but also into Canada. And some of the businesses that are here, we're delighted to have real business people here who are putting real time, real effort, real money into this work. We'll tell you about how those stepping stones are working, and they are, and they can be better. We can do business. As I've said, the global family, which is the theme of this conference, is a very big part of that business. And we can build a future for that global family. And this conversation, this conference, and I'd like to thank the people who put the effort and work into putting it together, is an important part of that conversation. Can be a stepping stone to building that brighter future for the global Mayo family. Ramaki Ishtat, and I'd like to hand over to Nate Kelly, who I think probably in this town, at this time, needs no introduction, to talk a little bit about the perspective from the western end of the conversation.
Thank you. I'm going to stand and speak. Can everybody hear me? Great. So, first, welcome to Cleveland, and thank you very much for the warm introduction. It is an honor to have so many Mayo societies here and colleagues from the Cleveland area, but also from all over the world. Really flattered to have you guys choose Cleveland for the Global Mayo Convention and be one of those four. It means a lot to us, so I appreciate that. You know, Peter makes the case for why we should invest our time and passions into Mayo. And in my role at Cuyahoga County, we are the county that surrounds the city of Cleveland, and part of our mission is now economic development. And my role is to help businesses be able to grow. One of the things that the county executive, Ed Fitzgerald, here says is when he's asked, where is the next Fortune 500 company coming from? How are we going to attract them here to Cuyahoga County? His answer is always, well, they're already here. We need to help them grow. And so one of the slides that Peter showed was the future of Mayo, and it resonates a lot with what we think our future is. And so that connectivity is genuine. There was 4 points that he made. One was to connect, to communicate, collaborate, and diaspora. So on the connecting front, Mayo makes the case. It is a natural beachhead for any business that aspires to do business in Europe. It's particularly attractive for businesses for a number of reasons, but low cost, it's only 5 hours away, and I can attest, my colleagues in Mayo never sleep. They're never asleep. I don't know how they do it. They're like gremlins. Every text message, every voicemail, every phone call is a direct connect and quickly responded to, both for businesses and me. And having that is so fundamental to being able to get business done. Ireland's workforce is abundant, it's healthy, and it's well educated. Domestically, we have a lot of challenges around making sure that our workforce is well educated and healthy and abundant. And so when we're working with a business that aspires to do business overseas and in Europe, it's such a treat to be able to work with a workforce as engaged and committed and educated and healthy as that which we've experienced in Mayo, in the west of Ireland, and most of Ireland. And lastly, it's an easy place to start off for a simple company, a simple family, a simple business in the Cleveland area because speak English, you have the benefits of the EU, the regulatory environment is the same, and the passion of the enterprise unit in Mayo is so great and so engaging that that first introduction seals the deal. Part of that is communication, that second bullet. Domestically, when I do economic development with domestically located businesses, most of what we have to focus on is incentives. What can you do for me? And we work with different organizations across the globe. But here locally, we have a number of organizations that help businesses in the state of Ohio, in Northeast Ohio, and here in the county to engage business from overseas, from all over the world. What's interesting is we see the data and we see it in reality, that the driving factors of what helps a business grow locally, first is familiarity. Businesses want the relationship. They want to know that they can be familiar with a place where they're going to work, where they're going to grow. Those factors are followed by logistics, workforce, risk. And in contrast to a lot of the talk that we have domestically, incentives rarely come up when we're engaging any international business. But where the edge is in Mayo, in our connections with Mayo, is that number one factor, familiarity, has, largely because of the diaspora, a running start. 11 years of the twinning of Echo Island and the city of Cleveland, the diaspora and about 250,000 people in the area that have Irish surnames makes people feel like they already have that organic kinship. There's an ethos that is shared with the folks that we get to talk to and meet, engage with from Mayo, that gives Mayo a level of comfort for businesses that I work with. Pardon. It gives level of comfort to those businesses to work in Mayo. And it makes that initial introduction easy, so that the discussions about logistics, workforce, there's already that trust, that bond is in place. The twinning with Echo, Tom Scanlon, who, if you guys don't know him, you will this weekend, says there are so many people in the Cleveland area that claim to be from Echo that if they all went there, it would sink. We want to try it. We want to try it. That shared kinship, that ethos that helps give us a running start when we're doing business in the west of Ireland makes it easy. And you'll see examples of that throughout the day in the different panels. I've witnessed it firsthand. The level of customer service that I have received from Peter, and thank you very much, Peter, for your leadership, and the way that the other members of the Mayo County Council are present to roll out the red carpet, and also all the official employees and staff of the enterprise units have made it so that big names like the Cleveland Clinic are able to establish almost immediate relationships with businesses that they're building here and trying to get regulatory approval in the EU. And you see that is those fast growth companies. Manufacturing is 10% of our economy. And being able to manufacture and distribute and engage with companies that are in Europe, Mayo is the natural beachhead for us. You'll hear from companies, and you've already heard from folks like John McCann at Mace, Sherwin-Williams, Park, Ohio, and then a number of many smaller companies throughout the day. But all of that is, I think, fundamental to the last piece, which is collaboration. At the initiative of Peter and his team on the Mayo side, and a number of the members of our own Mayo Society here in Cleveland, we're able to create an MOU that is a spin-off from the twinning or sister city process that happened with Echo Island and the city of Cleveland. That MOU, however, is the first step to do some more actionable things around business development, cultural exchange, and social exchange. That MOU has also already delivered results. Culturally, John Carroll University, which is a private university here in Cleveland, has created, with University of Ireland Galway, a Irish Studies program that focuses on the West. We've already had businesses that have made those connections. Having this convention here as part of that cultural exchange is a significant step. And my hope for you, for those of you that are from other Mayo societies elsewhere in our country, Canada, and other places, my hope is that you can use this model and do the same thing. Your participation in engaging Mayo helps us to have more in Mayo to work with. We'd be glad to help your cities move companies to Cuyahoga County if we could make that easier for you. That's usually kind of funny, and it still isn't funny when I'm saying that it isn't funny and I'm suffering up here. So before I open it up to questions for my colleagues here and out in the room, I want to recount something that Ed Fitzgerald said in a speech that I've appreciated, which was, I'll summarize, a French letter to the Irish during the failed Irish Rebellion of 1978 says, "Liberty, equality, fraternity, and union. Brave Irishmen, our cause is common. Let us march, we are devoted to you, our glory is in your happiness." I hope you join me. Thanks.
We have a couple of minutes left for any questions, answers, or obs. Now, just as one observation, Nate, I presume the reference to the rebellion of 1978 was Freudian slip. It was actually 1798 you were referring to.
1798.
Just for clarity, we didn't. At least not an official one. But there is a move around 1798, and the fact that Mayo was the start of the whole Republican movement and the first seat of the First Republic declared on the island. That's something that's working into the thinking around commemorating 1798 in the future as well. So if we have any questions or observations, and could, for the purposes of everyone in the room, maybe whoever it is could just identify themselves for a start. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm Colleen Corrigan Day from Cleveland. And I have two questions for Cuyahoga County and for Mayo County. Nate, are there any other similar models that Cuyahoga County has, possibly with Israel or other countries that are similar to this with Mayo? And on the Mayo side, are you involved with any other North American or international communities the way you are with Cleveland and Cuyahoga County?
Sure, well, I'll start. Our business development model is first to leverage those relationships that are already strong and abundant. And so after 200 years of having a strong industrial base, which sounds like a lot when I say it, but not around you guys, 200 years of history here, I feel like the focus has been on larger markets that are well established. And so we work with other partners at the state and in regions of our state to engage in those larger markets. Germany, China, India. However, we also want to be able to have some direct contact and direct service to those businesses that are here that want to grow. And so while what we do is we provide it directly for some of those areas where there's a greater emphasis. Mayo and coincidentally Israel have been the two sites where we've had that kind of connection. The Mayo connection has been prolific and helpful. It's been certainly, I think it was also driven by that kinship, that there's so many folks that hail from Mayo or their families too, that make it an easy sell. So it is unique to the county that we're engaged in Mayo. And I think it is a model that we can duplicate elsewhere, but we've got our hands full with these guys.
And just maybe pick up on that, it is unique from the Mayo perspective as well in terms of signing of a formal MOU. We have relationships with other communities, other cities, other associations, and I'm thinking of Philadelphia, we're here with us, New York, and with the associations in the UK. But we haven't signed a formal MOU county to county level anywhere else. And I think that is a model that could be replicated. There's a lot of work. You know, you don't just go out in the morning and decide you're going to do it the next day. There's a lot of work in terms of getting prepared for it, and timing has got to be right. I think the timing here is down to Ed Fitzgerald being in the leadership position that he was in and is in, and without him it wouldn't have happened. And we would be open to developing our relationship with our other communities around the globe, and that's a little bit of what this conversation is about. And when we do, we'll be looking to the Cuyahoga model as the next step in the process. We do collaborate with other local authorities in the West in terms of our business development work in the UK, but this relationship is unique.
Hello, Andrea Hooks, Cleveland State University Student Government Association, and I know that you mentioned John Carroll. I'm here because our university definitely represents inclusion, engagement, and diversity. So as a student body representative, how can we be a part of the process that Mayo is going through, especially with the collaboration here in Cleveland? How can we play a role?
First, let me say happy 50th anniversary at your university. And then also say, let's do it. It's my commitment that we'll be able to do that and make the connections with the educational institutions that that have already some connection to our colleagues in Mayo and others, and that's something you and I can work on after this.
And again, pick it up on that. I think you've already started by being here. I think that's step number one. I think step number two is we will have representatives from GMIT and NUIG, and that's the university based in Galway, and the Technological Institute, which will hopefully become a technological university in due course, based, or partly based in Mayo. So that's a conversation that we can set up, and in conversation with Martina and David and myself, Nate, and we'll see if we can make the connection and bring it back as one of the positive outcomes of this very first session of what's going to be a very productive, I hope, 2 days.
I think there's another point to add with the colleges.
Sorry, Tom, for those who don't know, you might introduce yourself as one of the...
Tommy Curtis, the speaker. Just in relation to Karen, I mentioned earlier on, from our point of view, into Cleveland, we are looking for graduates that look for experience or that area we do expect. So if there's some way you can help us on that line, we'd like to speak with you. That's possible.
John?
Pick up with it. John McCann. So Tom should be on the map in Mayo the next time we call manufacturing involved. So which we're duplicating in Cleveland. But Dean Sedlak, I worked with Dean Sedlak at the university, and one of the ideas I'd pick up on Tom a little bit is almost if the counties could set up an internship program. So we could send some Cleveland State students over, they could get some experience in Ireland and really experience the largest coastline in Ireland. And then also get the experience of the people, and at the same time, take some of the students that are living in Mayo, like myself, with the business Tom and I have started in the Cleveland area, and so you really get it at a grassroots level.
Internship is something we can certainly work on that's doable, and it will go both ways as well.
Right.
And if we can.
Right, because that's cooperating companies here, like, we can talk with Sherwin-Williams and our friend Ed McNamara at Aon to kind of put them to work and then send them back. But at the same time, we'd love to send some kids over, so they're getting some real experience.
Well, let's take that. I'm not sure if that's the second positive outcome from the first session or whether it's a development of the let's certainly take it and we'll have that conversation maybe over the coffee break, which isn't that far away. I saw another hand at the back here, sir.
Rose Conway Walsh from Mayo County Council. I'm very interested in what you're saying around the John Carroll University and the Irish studies, and I think a huge resource, or wonderful resource in Mayo, is the Jackie Clark collection, where Jackie Clark collected vast amounts of material that could be used for primary research right back to the 1600s to almost the present day, or when he died about 10 years ago. And they are very keen to work with exchanges and to develop the whole idea of edutourism in Ireland, and I know they have been talking to many other universities in North America as well. So, and I spoke to them before I came out here, and they would be very interested in developing links with you. And just the other point to make around the business development, we have the new National Rural Development Programme starting next year as well. And again, that will provide funding for exchanges and for further development in terms of, Nate, what you were talking about, for business here. So there are opportunities in that, and opportunities again in terms of the connectivity, both with Cleveland and Mayo, but also further into Europe there as well, so further collaboration there as well for exchanges. So thanks for the presentations.
A very important point, and it's something that we probably haven't written into the thinking and the planning enough in terms of developing rural development programs in the past, and now would be the time to put it firmly in there for the next 5 years. Anyone else before we clear ourselves going for coffee? And the lack of or absence of anyone feeling the need to say anything further at this stage, could I just maybe wrap up? Thanks, John, for the introductions. Thanks, Cathaoirleach, for kicking off the convention in great style. Nate, thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning, and for all that you have done over the past 3-4 years to push the whole collaboration between Mayo and Cuyahoga forward. You might convey our thanks also to the county executive, wishing well for the next couple of months.
Couldn't have a better partner. Thank you.